Welcome to the Pixelwood Experience. So I just watched Oppenheimer the other day in the theaters and I was so inspired. So without further ado, let's get started. So here is the poster and let's go and analyze the composition. So first of all, there are two main focals, which is Oppenheimer and the bomb in the back. And we notice here that there's also some text and they have a bunch of different effects at the bottom. There's a bunch of leading lines that get you back to the character and help lead your eyes back to the focal. And lastly, at the very top, there are some fire effects. So just to open up Sprite and starting a new canvas, we're just gonna go ahead and just block in the shapes as we see them, just comparing it to the poster. So I have the main focal and the second focal. And now I'm just going in and making sure that I have all of the proportions correct, especially with the face and the body. And now after I'm finished with that, I'm just going to go ahead and jump in the background, and that's something I want to focus on first. So I wanted to work on the background first and get the second focal out of the way. On the poster, it looks like a bomb, so I wanted to keep that similar look. However, instead of making it an actual bomb, I wanted to make it like a kraken that is kind of like a cyborg kraken that we would see like in the Godzilla movie. So going with that design, I wanted to make sure that you can kind of distinguish that it's still kind of like a bomb from Oppenheimer, but have a little bit of a playful element to it. So I just added like 4 different eyes, and I'm just adding now like the kraken tentacles. And after adding the tentacles in, now I'm focusing more on the composition and all the flow of all the lines. And now just like blocking in a little bit more detail and looking back at the poster, there's a bunch of like wires going through, and I wanted to make that very evident because these wires are very important for the overall composition. They lead your eye back to the focal and away from all the noise in the picture. And I'm slowly working up all of these wires to make sure that they fit. And if you notice, I usually work from dark to light. And that is something that I found very, very efficient for my workflow. And it usually ends up making it look more appealing overall. And now I'm adding a little bit of color. So going from, the explosion in the back, usually it's a little bit more orange. So adding that on the wires to give it a little bit more depth. So now I'm working on the tentacles, and I don't want them to be too dark. So I'm giving it a little bit of just different gradients to make him pop out of the background. And now I'm working on the front tentacles, and these are the ones that are going to be very strong leading lines to the main character. And I'm just experimenting with the front tentacles again. Want to make sure that I have them a little bit distinguished, but I just figured that there is text down there, so it doesn't really matter much because I'm going to be pretty much obliterating that out of the water. And now I'm just adding final touches to the octopus, making sure that I have a little bit of texture. And next I'm jumping on Oppenheimer. So I just wanted to make sure that I get the proportion correct and work on the suit, because that suit is a little bit more dated than nowadays, and I just want to make sure that I get all the proportions correct. And now I'm working on the shirts. And you notice that it doesn't look very appealing when you start, because as soon as you're blocking in shapes, you're just trying to make sure that you get the colors correct and you get the values. Values are more important than the colors, because it doesn't matter if you have if all the colors look good, but you cannot see or you cannot understand what is the difference between the light and the dark, then the colors are just going to look like, very bland and very flat. So adding that and making sure that you work on your values first will make the picture look 3-dimensional. So I want to make sure that the hat stands out from the background a little bit, because everything is kind of brownish oranges. So having that highlight really makes it stand out. And next I'm working on Duck Norris, and this was a little bit challenging because Duck Norris have like feathers, and I wanted to make sure that I try and get those values as close as I can. So for this duck, I decided to go with a yellow duck to keep it very close to the oranges, and that way it doesn't like stand out so much, because I wanted to initially make it as a white duck, but the shirt is also white and everything kind of blend together. So I wanted to have that separation. And next I'm working on the final effect at the bottom, which is the sparks. And I want to make sure that they have kind of like a swooping effect. Lastly, just jumping in the back, making sure that the fire effect is present at the top. And now I'm jumping on Photoshop to fix some of the colors and give it a little bit of kick, because Photoshop can handle colors a lot better than Sprite, and I have a lot more experience with it. And now I'm just adding the text. And guys, if you haven't seen Oppenheimer, I highly recommend it. It's one of those movies that you don't see often in the cinema, and I'm so glad that Christopher Nolan is doing all of that, especially with the budget that he has. And he's giving us something that's original and unique from what we're seeing now in Hollywood. So if you get a chance to support that and make sure that we get to see a lot more of these movies in the future, please do. And this is it. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. If you like it, please leave it a like and a comment. It'll help me grow and help me with the algorithm. If you enjoyed this, you'll enjoy this video as well, where I take you through my thought process behind making an NPC for my upcoming indie game. And remember, take it one day at a time, and I'll see you in the next video.